The House has not been in session these past few weeks. I am aware that for many of us, the work has never stopped and the obligations we hold have not been any less demanding. Still, I hope that you are taking time to rest, to recover, and to prepare yourselves for the responsibilities that will continue to demand our time, our abilities, and our continued efforts. Yesterday, we stood to observe a moment's silence in memory of our colleague, Honorable Muhammadu Fagengao, who passed away recently. My dear colleagues, this 9th House of Representatives has in its very short lifetime suffered the loss of too many of our members. I am deeply troubled by this development. Yes, it is God who gives life, and it is God who takes life. We will not question his decisions the decision of our Maker. Nonetheless, allow me to say once more, as I have said before in this chamber, that faithful execution of the responsibilities of our office requires of us that we pay close attention to our personal health. This is still very true. Beyond the obligations of our office, we have other responsibilities as fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters that require us to take matters of our personal health with the utmost care. Let us never lose sight of this fact, and may God guide, protect, and keep us all in good health and good fortune. Upon the inauguration of the 9th House of Representatives in June 2019, we hit the ground running, working with the executive and engaging the citizens of our country to discover and present solutions to the problems of our country. Some of our efforts have already yielded positive results in certain regards, and I am hopeful that we will continue in this new year to meet and exceed the standards that we have set for ourselves. For the first time since 1999, we have a budget passed by the legislature and signed into law before the start of the implementation year. I commend and thank all the members of the House for your efforts towards achieving early passage of the Appropriation Act 2020 and the Finance Act, both of which have now been signed into law by His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR. Honorable colleagues, passing the budget into law is merely the beginning. We now have a duty to ensure faithful compliance with the letter and spirit of the law by the ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government. We will carry out this responsibility, and we will do so with integrity, taking pains to ensure that we leave no room for neither friends nor foes to find fault with our words or our deeds. That Appropriation Act reflects the priorities of government. These priorities are the same today as they have always been: to develop public infrastructure to meet the needs of a rapidly growing population, to facilitate investment in new and existing industries, to provide educational opportunities for all our people, and to build an economy that allows every citizen to achieve their just ambitions. Our role as legislators is to ensure that the agencies responsible for implementing this budget maintain fidelity to these priorities. We will not be afraid to hold people's feet to the fire where necessary. Where it is required of us that we act to review and update legislation, we will do so too. We will not act alone. We will not be arbitrary in our interventions. We will seek collaboration as a matter of course, so that our interventions do not exacerbate existing problems or create new ones. In this new year, this House will further take all necessary actions to pass into law the Petroleum Industry Bill and to implement the much needed and long delayed reforms of the sector. It is an unavoidable truth that the oil and gas industry is integral to the economic life of Nigeria. Achieving efficient operation in this sector is therefore a matter of national survival. We cannot allow these much needed and too long delayed reforms to continue to be hostage to the privileged interests of a few or the myopic considerations of those whose interests are served by the status quo. We will seek reform, we will achieve reform, and we will do so in collaboration with the executive with stakeholders in the industry, and with those communities that most directly bear the highest costs of our exploration and sale of fossil fuels. In 2019, the House of Representatives led interventions to address the challenges faced by the less able amongst our citizens. We observed the International Day of People with Disabilities with an event here in the National Assembly, which was intended first to highlight the many challenges faced by those of our citizens with disabilities, and then to build support for necessary action to address those challenges. On that day, we renewed our commitment to take all necessary action to promote accessibility for the less abled, bring down those barriers that stand in the way of their highest aspirations, and build a future free of the injustices that limit them and condemns us all. The House of Representatives will live up to those commitments, and we will do so expeditiously through legislative action and through collaboration with stakeholders across the country in government and in private sector. Honorable colleagues, the ongoing evolution of our nation's democracy requires of us that we continually review and update the rules of our engagement. We have just emerged from an election season that, for its numerous successes, nonetheless exposed significant gaps in the process that it left unaddressed, threatening our democracy, that if left unaddressed, threaten our democracy. Electoral reforms are not a party political issue. They are a matter of loyalty to an ideal that is greater than the party to which one belongs to, or the personal ambitions we may each hold. Electoral reforms are a matter of our nation's future, and I ask of you all that when the time comes to achieve the reforms we need, we do so with the utmost commitment to fairness and equity, respect for the rule of law, and with abiding hope for a better future for all our people. There are a number of other initiatives we began in 2019 that require our continued commitment. These include efforts by the House to see to the full and profitable operation of the Warri, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Onne, and Onitsha inland ports. Reforms of the power sector to ensure fairness in the billing system, as well as allow for the development of an industry that is attractive to investment and capable of serving the interests of the Nigerian people. We will not relent in pursuing these goals, as creating economic opportunity for all our people helps us solve the other problems that threaten the continued viability of the Nigerian state. Honorable colleagues, since we last convened in these chambers, there have been developments in the public space that concern us. We have witnessed across the country a recognizable uptick in crime manifested through activities of bandits, destroying communities, kidnappers operating for profit, and insurgents seeking to remake our world in the image of a discredited theocracy. All people of conscience mourn the loss of a reverend and a senior member of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Adamawa State, Mr. Lawan Adimi, a good and honorable man who through the church and in his personal capacity served the people of his community, earning their reverence and our collective gratitude. In the midst of our mourning, our hearts were broken once more by the release of a video depicting the gruesome assassination of Mr. Rockville Daleb Dacia, a student from Plateau State who was abducted by suspected Boko Haram terrorists on his way back to school at the University of Maiduguri. God forbid that it is now our nation's fate to live forever under the threat of abduction and murder. What gaps and weaknesses continue to exist in the national security infrastructure that makes us more susceptible to the machinations of those who seek to achieve wealth and power through brutal violence? How do we achieve for all our people a just and honorable peace? These questions are never too far from my mind, and I know that it is the same for you too, because often it is you who are at the front lines responding to the concerns of constituents who have themselves been victimized, and those who fear that the moment of their own affliction is only a matter of time and circumstance. Honorable colleagues, this House will shortly take action to put these questions before those agencies of our national security, to whom our Constitution and other legislation have granted the powers and the resources to ensure the safety and security of all our people. Our cup of endurance has run over, and we are no longer willing to labor under these dark clouds of random violence inflicted upon our people by faceless cowards whose ends we do not understand and whose means we do not know. Overcoming our overwhelming national security challenges now requires of us all that we will be willing to accept. Now requires of us all that we be willing to accept new approaches and consider novel ideas. Neither the security institutions nor political leaders can afford to hold on too tightly to a status quo whose frustrating limitations are painfully evident, whilst reflexively rejecting innovations that may improve our fortunes if properly implemented. Recently, the governors of Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Ekiti, Oyo, and Ondo states took action to implement a regional security network to support the efforts of the Nigerian police force in preventing crime and protecting the lives and property of those our citizens who live, work, and travel through those states. The establishment of Amotekun as a network is called has met with commentary from across the country, both for and against. Too often, it has seemed to me that lost in these interactions is the hard, brutal, and unavoidable fact that Amotekun and other such state or zonal interventions that already quietly exist in other parts of the country are a desperate response to the vile manifestations of insecurity that trouble the lives of citizens, depriving them of the peace and security that gives life meaning. I do not know that Amotekun, or whatever iterations of it may follow, represents the ultimate or perfect solution to the problem of insecurity in our country. Nobody knows. Nobody knows that. What I do know, with absolute clarity and certainty, is that the localized manifestation of insecurity across the different parts of our country call for unique and localized approaches that take those peculiarities into account. What I also know is that whichever approach we seek, we are obligated to work within the limits imposed by the Constitution, to which we all swear allegiance. Above all else, I am certain in the knowledge that doing nothing is not an option. We have a responsibility as legislators to support the best efforts of those who act with noble intent to protect our citizens. I therefore call on the leader of the House and the minority leader to take active steps to bring to the floor